Hello students, welcome back to the class. Last classes we have discussed about power and function of President of India. In that class we have discussed about legislative power, emergency power, judicial power, financial power and other powers, diplomatic power. In this concept, in this class we will discuss about a new concept related to the same thing, President. We will discuss about emergency power. What is the emergency power of president? We'll discuss it. Okay, I'll go forwards here. Now, emergency is nothing but serious and dangerous conditions. First, to understand about the emergency power of president, we should understand what is meant by emergency. Emergency is nothing but whenever the serious and dangerous conditions will prevail. In that conditions, immediate actions are required. So, that is called as emergency power. So, serious and dangerous conditions which prevails, immediate actions are required. That situation is called as emergency power. So, emergency is nothing but whenever the conditions are very serious and when the conditions are dangerous, and immediate when the action is required, immediate when action is required, that situation is called as emergency. So, immediate we need an action, that situation is called emergency. Now, we will discuss about emergency power. So, normally if you take an example, emergency will be declared. Now, here emergency will be declared in three conditions. First one is called natural emergency, then we will study about constitutional emergency, and next we will go forward to the financial emergency. So, in emergency also, if you see, it is mainly classified into three types. One is called national emergency, one is called constitutional emergency, and one is called as financial emergency. Now, so already we have discussed that emergency is nothing but the situation, that is a situation in which the dangerous conditions will prevail and immediately you need some action. That situation is called emergency. And what is the power of presidency? President has emergency power. This emergency power when the president will get only during some abnormal condition. During the normal circumstances, all the powers were under the control of Prime Minister. Prime Minister will conduct day-to-day activities, delegations, international meeting, etc. So, whenever the conditions are normal, then Prime Ministers will conduct all day-to-day activities. All the real power will be under the control of Prime Minister only. He will conduct delegates, he will conduct meeting. So, all the he will represent the nation he will go to the international meeting. But when the conditions is not normal, so imagine when the conditions are not normal, abnormal conditions will prevail, or when dangerous situation will prevail, immediately you need some action. When the dangerous situation will prevail, during that situation, who will enjoy the real power? President will enjoy the real power. Normal circumstances, when we are talking about normal condition, when the environment is peaceful and when there is no dangerous situation, during the normal circumstances, Prime Minister will enjoy the real power. Whenever the situations are becoming abnormal, then the President will enjoy the emergency power. Almost all the emergency power will be under the control of President. When we have discussed about the power and function, we have discussed about President has a right to declare war. National emergency, when we are talking, this is mainly first we will discuss President has emergency power in abnormal conditions. So, what I am saying that President has most power in abnormal situations. So, President only will decide how to control the situation. When this national emergency will come, President only will decide how to control the emergency situation, that will be under the control of only President. This national emergency, when it will come, means two situations, mainly due to war. Whenever if there is any external war, whenever the external war will take place, then the national emergency will occur. First one, war, due to the external war or due to the armed rebellions, when the army will revolt. Sometime what happens that when the armed forces when they will revolt, then that situation also will come, then that is also called as national emergency. When the army will revolt, then it will be a very problematic situation for the government to control the conditions. So, now in national emergency, these emergencies are nothing but from article 352 to 360, part 18 of the Indian constitutions we can find emergency emergency is mainly denoted. In Constitution, President has an emergency power. President only will proclaim, and all the abnormal situations will come, then all the power will be under the control of President. An emergency are mainly classified into three types: national emergency, constitutional emergency, and next one financial emergency. Now we'll go forward. According to Article 352 to 360, Part 18 of Indian Constitution, so these all articles are included in emergency situations. So all the articles are included in the situation of emergency. Now we'll go forward. Emergency situations, when it will come, only in three circumstances emergency situation will come. First situation, national emergency, constitutional emergency in the sense state, that is regarding the disturbances between the state, and financial emergency. In national emergency, now we'll discuss. In national emergency, president has only right to proclaim the emergency. In national emergency, president only have a right whether to declare war or whether to conclude peace and how to control the situation. Okay, and national emergency will arise due to two conditions. So we have discussed, one is war. Imagine that in our country, if any other external countries have declared a war, like China, imagine that China have declared a war with India, then in that situation, president will declare the emergency. Okay, or else in any situation when the armed rebellions will take place, when the army or the defense forces, when they will revolt, then emergency situations will take place. So far that situation never came to India. Emergency situation came to India, but armed rebellion situation, that type of situation have never occurred. Now when we are talking about Britishers, these armed rebellions were occurred in Britishers. When 1857 revolt, we already discussed, no children. In 1857 revolt, what happened? The army, the Britishers army mainly consists of Indian army and British army. During that period, armed rebellions have taken places in the British Empire. But in Indian government, this armed rebellions have never taken places. These types of emergency have taken places for a war. First emergency when we have declared in 1962, when we faced a war with China, we have declared the emergency. Okay. And 1947 also we have declared emergency when we fought a war with Pakistan. Again 1971 also we have declared emergency when we fought a war with Pakistan. And 1975, during this 1975 we have declared emergency due to some internal problems. We have declared emergency according to the constitutional issues. So far many times we have declared emergency, but first time when we declared emergency, Indian government had declared emergency in 1962 when we fought a war with China. So normally if you see, national emergency are classified into two types. One is called war and armed rebellions. War in the sense, whenever the external countries or any other countries, when they declared a war with India, then in that situation only the president has a right to declare emergency. President only will decide whether to declare a war or whether to conclude peace. That is under the control of only president. Only during the external conditions, abnormal situation, all the power will be under the control of president only. Next, come to the point. Now, president, when he will declare the emergency situation, he have to depend upon the Union Council of Ministers, Prime Minister as well as Union Council of Ministers. I already said you, president, even during the emergency or even during any circumstances, president cannot declare directly everything. So whenever the president is taking any type of decisions, he have to depend upon the Council of Ministers. Okay, president have to depend upon Council of Ministers to implement the decisions. So in emergency condition also, even when the situation will come like war or armed rebellion, in that situation if it comes, then president first suddenly will not declare emergency. First president will discuss with the Council of Ministers about the situation. After discussion, then the president will carry out his decisions. Never the president will take the decisions directly. He will conduct a meeting, he will conclude a meeting with Prime Ministers and Council of Ministers, and then final decisions will be taken. So here president will impose advice. He have to take the advice from Union Council of Ministers. Okay, so that is one point. So whenever emergency also will be declared, or in normal circumstances, anyhow the president will take the advice from the Council of Ministers and Prime Minister. But in emergency, president will take the advice of Council of Ministers, but he can act. Okay, whether to act and not act, that completely depends upon president. This is one weightage in the emergency is president has some weightage because the emergency condition president everything will decide whether I should go for a war. Anyhow he will take the decisions and he will carry all the decisions from the Council of Ministers. It will be the final point whether the president will decide whether to go for a war or to conclude peace. That is completely under the control of president only. Next come to the point for approval. If you see now even emergency conditions when it will prevail. So first what will happen, first the resolutions will pass in Lok Sabha. Okay, in that resolutions 2/3 of the person should approve. Okay, 2/3 of the person should approve. If 2/3 of the person should approve, then the resolutions will go to Rajya Sabha. There also should approve, and then finally the president will declare the emergency. Okay, first discussions will be done in Lok Sabha. And these discussions will be taken very fastly. After then the discussions will be carried out in Rajya Sabha, and at last the final discussions will be done by president, and the president will declare emergency. Now fourth is president can declare emergency for the period of 6 months. Okay, whenever the emergency will be declared, that will be depends upon president from how many months he can declare. So normally the emergency when it will be declared, it will be declared for 6 months, and next 6 months it can be extended. President can extend the emergency during the next 6 months. If he wanted to extend the emergency period for one more 6 months, he can able to extend for 6 months more. So that is mainly depends upon that point. So here what we have understand, emergency are mainly classified into three things: national emergency, constitutional and financial emergency. Now we are talking about only national emergency. This national emergency will be proclaimed by president. This national emergency are mainly caused by two things. One is war and armed rebellions. Okay, whenever any other countries are declaring a war upon our country, then national emergency will be declared, or when the arms revolt, then emergency will declare. So when we are talking about these two conditions, I am taking an example. First emergency 1962, when we fighted a war with China. When we fighted a war with China, then the emergency was declared by the Indian government. And armed rebellion, so far in related to the armed rebellions, no far emergency was declared in our country so far, because no arms have revolted in our country. So when we are going toward the British period, in British period we find 1857 revolt. In that 1857 revolt, what happened there? The arms have revolted against government, that is armed rebellions. Next, here president when they will take the advice, okay, president can impose advice from Council of Ministers. That depends upon president. President will take the advice, but he can act. During normal circumstances, president have to carry out the decisions which are explained by Union Council of Ministers and Prime Minister. But in emergency condition, it depends upon president whether to declare war or whether to conclude peace. Everything will be under the control of president only. First, the discussions will be carried out for emergency. First discussions will be done in Lok Sabha, and then discussions will be done in Rajya Sabha. 2/3 of the person should approve, and then final declarations and declarations will be done by president. Emergency can be imposed for the period of 6 months. If it is possible, emergency can be extended for next 6 months also. Okay. Now, except during emergency, if you see, all the fundamental rights will be suspended. Some rights in fundamental rights you can't enjoy. For example, right to form union, right to form association, right to speech. These all are fundamental rights we can't conduct during the emergency condition, because in emergency condition curfew will impose. Okay, curfew will impose, and whenever the curfew and this situation will impose, they will not allow any people to go outside. In that condition, suppose if you are forming right to form union, right to form association, right to speech, then serious actions will be taken upon the particular person. So normal condition we can enjoy fundamental rights, every fundamental rights. But when the situations are not good, in emergency condition, all the fundamental rights will be suspended. People have no right to speech, people have no right to form union, people have no right to form association, people have no right to assemble at any place peacefully, with or without arms, nothing, no fundamental rights. All the fundamental rights will be suspended, except two fundamental rights during emergency also, which will be present. Two fundamental rights maybe you can enjoy. You will enjoy two fundamental rights, which is related to Article 20 and 21. So in emergency condition, all the fundamental rights will be suspended. Only two fundamental rights people can enjoy. One is related to Article 20 and 21. Now what is called Article 21 we will discuss. This is mainly related to life and liberty. Even though if emergency conditions will declare every person have right to live and every person can enjoy freedom. Liberty is nothing but freedom. With freedom we can able to live. But some conditions like right to form union, right to form association, right to speech, okay, these all fundamental rights will be suspended during emergency conditions. Next, now what is Article 20? Article 20 is related to no person shall be considered as culprit until he violate the law. Even though emergency will be declared, punishments will be given to only those who are not following the emergency rules and regulations. Even during emergency, if you are obeying the law, you will not get anything. But according to Article 20, if emergency will be declared, if you are not obeying the law, anyhow you will get punishment in emergency as well as non-emergency condition. So according to Article 20 is no person shall be considered as a culprit until they violate the law. Okay, in emergency also, if you will not violate the law, you will be safe. But if you violate the law, then you will get punishment. So these two articles are very important. So in these two articles, even after declaring of emergency also, people can follow. People should follow these things. Article 20 and Article 22, these are the two fundamental rights which will be secured among the citizen, but during emergency condition all the fundamental rights will be suspended. So children, what we have discussed here, we have discussed about the president of emergency power. President has a right to proclaim emergency. Emergency is nothing but whenever the situation and conditions are not good, when the conditions are not favorable, so immediate action is required, that is called emergency. Emergency is included in the constitutions from Article 352 to 360 of the Part 18 of Indian Constitution. Emergency have concluded. Emergency is mainly classified into three types. One is national emergency, constitutional emergency, financial emergency. In national emergency, who can proclaim? President has right to proclaim the national emergency. The president can proclaim emergency only during the war and armed rebellions. Okay, and president can have to take the advice from the Union Council of Ministers. In emergency condition, the president can act by himself. President, first emergency resolutions will pass in Lok Sabha, okay, and then Rajya Sabha, 2/3 of the people should approve, and then the president should approve. If emergency will be declared, it will be extended for the period of, it will be implemented for 6 months, and next it can be extended for next 6 months. During emergency conditions, we can, all the fundamental rights will be suspended, but two fundamental rights we can enjoy. One is Article 21, right to life and liberty, freedom, we can enjoy right to life and liberty, and Article 20. So if you have not, no person shall be considered as a crime until they are not, until they are violate the law. Okay, this is also one article we can enjoy during emergency conditions. Okay, without any reason in emergency condition, person will not be given punishments. So this is about emergency situation. These all things we have discussed about national emergency, children. In next class we will discuss about constitutional emergency, and we have discussed about financial emergency in the next class. Thank you very much.